the big, beautiful, winding valley. It's very, very, what's it called? Archangel Chamuel country out here. The green rolling hills, beautiful orange sunsets when they're there. So welcome to the Ear Chakra Consciousness. We have officially begun Ear Chakra Consciousness week. Let me know when you're here. Let me know where you're from around the world. I am in Australia, for those of you who don't know. So hello, my name is Hannah. Okay, so Ear Chakra Consciousness week. I remember teaching light field yoga many, many years ago. And I was at a class and we were doing the integration sequence, and it's like all of the chakras in one class. It's quite intense. And we start at the crown, we get to the third eye, and then we hit the ears, and it's like everybody breathes out. The ear chakra consciousness is something that I personally think has been forgotten in society, is being buried. When I was creating the ear chakra consciousness, the course for it, the training, the symbol that I got shown for it was a tomb. And the feminine has been asleep in a tomb. For a long time, they have, as you know, tried to shut down the femininity and the feminine aspect of consciousness, which is intuition. Now, if we look at what just unfolded in the States over the last week, right on point with it, right? Pretty huge. So hello to everybody that is here. If you don't have the Crystalline Chakra activations, you can grab them. The link is in the title of this live stream. And basically there's 9 of the Crystalline Chakra activations that you can listen to as we go through our journey together over this next 9 weeks. What's up? My cat. My cat. Okay, so ear chakra consciousness is like a breathing out, but it is something that has been forgotten. It's something that is not included in traditional chakra teachings. It's the missing link, in my opinion. There's 7 chakras that people are taught in, traditional, spiritual teachings. 7 is an uneven number. We're stuck in a 3rd dimensional consciousness. We're stuck in an unbalanced consciousness. Ear chakras bring balance back to consciousness. It then goes to 8 instead of 7, which is a balanced number. Yeah. Let alone, it's where we hear our intuition. So if we're shut down in our intuition, well, we're not only just shut down in the feminine, but we're also shut down in hearing. Yeah. And so the balance has been knocked off center. If we look at human history, we've literally been like knocked off center in many, many ways in such a deep level. And I personally believe that the ear chakra consciousness can wake up a lot of what has been, I want to say not forgotten, it's been put into unconsciousness. It's been flicked off. Yeah, it's been switched off and turned off and locked away in a tomb. Yeah, literally like in a tomb state place. And obviously when I talk about that, what comes to mind is the Egypt, really strongly in the pyramids, and the tombs, right? And I know there's tombs all around the world, and there's a lot of people that have died all around the world for a long time as well, right? So it's not just Egypt. Okay, and I'm just going to leave that to the side because I'm not sure why that's coming through, but it's coming through pretty strongly. So the ear chakra consciousness, obviously there's 2. So we're bringing a balance back to consciousness. We're bringing a balance back to intuition. We're bringing a balance back to the masculine, right? It's like we're bringing the openness. And at the ear chakra consciousness, it is associated with the color magenta pink. It is obviously associated with our ears, our physical ears, and also our ovaries. Yeah, our ears look like our ovaries. Interesting. Yeah. If you have fertility issues, you want to work on opening your ear chakras, you want to work on listening to your intuition. if something isn't manifesting in your life, you want to look at where you're not listening to your intuition and make changes according to what you're being guided and being told to do via your intuition, not via somebody else. Okay, where are you listening? Are you listening outside to all the people that you're getting guidance from? Are you listening to your angels? Are you listening to your spirit guides? And it's like, wipe all that from the slate and listen deep within. The ear chakras bring a balance, right? It's like the crown, the third eye, the ears, it comes out, and then it's like, oh, now we can come down. Yeah, we've listened out there, and now we're listening in here. It brings us down. Yeah, ear chakras, heart chakra, base chakra, very interconnected with each other. Yeah, when the ear chakras are activated, so is the heart. When the ear chakras are activated, so is the base. The ear chakras, like I said, is what you want to work on if there's fertility issues. And then obviously with the ovaries, and very connected to opening to the feminine. If you're open to receiving, yeah, or you might not be like hearing somebody, or so you shut down in your ears, yeah. Also as well, what's coming to mind for some reason, I need to say this too. So I had a client once come to me, and he had, I can't remember which ear it was, but he was going deaf in one of his ears. And before he even told me anything, I was like, so who usually drives when you drive the car? Like his wife or him, right? He did. And I was like, and what side of the bed do you sleep on? And he was going deaf in the ear where she was always at. So when he was driving, this is the ear that, you know, she would sit on. When he was sleeping, this is where she would sleep. And so he was going deaf in his ear because he didn't want to hear her anymore, and he was thinking about getting a divorce. And so it's interesting, right, when we don't want to hear something, what we do to shut down. So like children even, like ear infections is like blocking out what we don't want to hear. So if there's a lot of arguing going on in the house between, you know, parents or anything like that, adults or what have you, children usually get a lot of ear infections who don't want to hear it anymore, right? So things like that. So yeah, so the ears deeply connected to heart chakra and base chakra, and then to our ovaries, yeah, obviously to our physical ears. And there's the outer spiritual ear, so there's the outer ear, the auditory canal, and then the auditory channel inside, yeah, so it's like in, obviously in the head, in the middle of our head. So where the physical outer ear, inner, like the channel, and then, sorry, the canal, and then the channel inside, yeah, is also similar to the third eye in the regards of like the third eye, yeah, so there's the third eye, there's the channel that goes through, and then there's, sorry, the channel, the center at the back. So there's like 3 parts, yeah, same with the ears, the outer ear, the canal, and the inner ear, yeah, so on both sides obviously. And it's like the ear chakra crystalline activation helps to repair the connection between, and then making sure there's no blockages in there as well, yeah. Yeah, so your children had ear infections, makes sense, because the ex was always yelling. Yep, don't want to hear it anymore, block it out, it's too much, yeah. Just like a headache, yeah. Headache's like too much, don't want to see it, so okay, process it, yeah. So ear chakras are where we're opening to receive, yeah. So if you've got, like I said, issues manifesting, it's very connected to manifestation. I want to say the biggest thing with ear chakras is, yes, the feminine, right? But also the structure of reality changes at the ear chakras. It's like reality can't, I don't know how to describe this. It is this and it's not this, yeah? The ear chakras change the structure of reality. At the ear chakra consciousness, we become aware of realities that we've shut down, that have been asleep, that have been in a slumber, that have, you know, been put into a tomb and tucked away and pushed away. And so like any issues with receiving, obviously it's feminine. So like the feminine issues, so like feminine wounding, mother betrayal, like feminine betrayal, like all the feminine issues will arise at the ear chakras, yeah. And then with that, the structure of reality also changes. Yeah, the structure of reality changes. So if you think about it, crown chakra, opening to new ideas, letting in the light. At the third eye chakra consciousness, it's like we're seeing a whole new perspective. We're seeing the truth. And because we see the truth, at the ear chakras, it's like a balance, right? So it's two, yeah, we come from one, two. And so it's like it births, hence heart chakra and base chakra, yeah? And so it births into reality. So what you're now seeing as the truth has to come to fruition at the ear chakras. Like the structure of reality changes. Now, whether that's like your internal structure, and the other message that I got this morning as well about it, it's like, what are you screaming at reality and nobody can hear you? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, are you screaming for joy because it's amazing? Or what are you like screaming at reality and no one can hear you? Like, it's like, where are you at on the scale, right? We talked about the scale yesterday as well in my live stream. So from darkness to light. The other message that was coming through actually this morning about the ears is that, you know, people would say to me, it's not black and white, Hannah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, it doesn't have to be one or the other. And I'm like, in myself, I'm like, but it's not. Like, you know, and what was coming through this morning was like, because in that is when you understand that the black and the white reality, the dark to the light reality is on the same spectrum of each other. All the colors of the rainbow are in that, right? So of course it's not black or white. Everything exists within that scale and within that spectrum of it, right? So when we look at the ear chakra consciousness, everything has been opened. We come into seeing the truth with that new light and the new consciousness, and therefore it births into a whole new structure of reality because we're like, wow. And so changes happen at the ear chakra consciousness, alignment happens, a balance happens. And like I said, if you're like screaming at the top of your lungs and nobody can hear you, it's like, I want to say, where are you not hearing your intuition yourself? Where are you not being heard in what you're not just asking for, but letting yourself actually own the reality of the truth and actually let yourself receive that? So if you know the truth of the reality now, are you actually letting yourself receive that? Yeah. So I see some of you guys jumping on as well. So hello. Okay. So let me just have a look here. Okay, and so I'm just checking in my ear chakra consciousness book, and this just jumped out at me. So I'm going to talk about it because it's interesting what we're just talking about with the dark light scale. So it's either open or closed, dark light, yeah? So closed, can't hear you, not being heard, where are you not hearing yourself, etc. So the symptoms of a closed inflow ear chakra, so there's like the inflow and the outflow, right? So there's energy coming in, crosses over and goes out, crosses over, comes back in. Like it's a big figure 8 energy flow, right? Through the ear chakras, energy comes in, energy goes out, yeah? It's like the breath in, breath out, constant ebb and the flow. So if the inflow is closed, right? So manifestations, things, etc., trying to come in, and if that inflow is closed, can be very judgmental of other people, can be very negative with anything that other people say, like instant shutdown. You know, it's like, no. Why? Because we're shut. Yeah, we're shut from receiving. And it, you can, you know, and like I said, this is very connected to the heart chakra. So if we're very closed, we're going to block everything out. Yeah, nope. And so anything that anyone says, we just like put a negative connotation to it. Why? Because we're closed. We don't trust people. So ear chakra is very, as I said, connected to heart and base. Base chakra is where we trust life. If we're closed, we won't trust. Yeah, won't trust. Yeah. So don't trust people, or I want to say, or anything. Yeah. It can manifest as a loss of physical hearing, meaning not wanting to hear. Don't want to hear what their words saying now, which is what I just gave that example of the man before that was questioning divorcing his wife, but he'd already shut down. He's like, I'm done. Right? So when there's too much energy streaming in, so when there's not a balance, so it can either be too closed or too open, right, on the inflow, can be overwhelmed and confused easily. So same thing, and again, like, you know, and I'll keep referring to it, the ears, the heart, and the base. the heart chakra is deeply connected to the clairsentience feeling. So at the ear chakras, we're like pulled down into reality. It's like it hits reality, right? So the heart and the base, we're like pulled into reality. And so when we look at the ear chakra consciousness, and there's like too much energy coming in, it's the same as the heart, right? If you're too, like, you know, too open, I want to say, or too like highly clairsentient, and you don't know how to differentiate between your energy and somebody else's energy, or the earthquakes or whatever's coming in bombarding your energy field, you can be overwhelmed. Why? Because you're just taking it all on like a sponge, right? A sponge that's like full and clogged up in a way, yeah? So you can be confused easily, and you always have to remember with confusion, if you're confused, all you've done is you've taken in somebody else's opinion. You know what your truth is, and you're like, right, this is what it is, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am, and then someone says something and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know, like oh, I don't know, I don't know now, like I'm really confused, like. But all you've done, if you've stepped away from your truth, like what I like to say at throat chakra consciousness is like you've swallowed somebody else's truth, right? So, and we're coming into throat. So too much coming in. And of course, you know, like this too much or too little, too open, too closed, is a boundary issue. Yeah. So when we look at the energetics of ear chakra consciousness, it's where we start to understand boundaries on a physical, tangible level. At the third eye chakra consciousness, we start to see the truth of the reality, and we start to sort of differentiate between, you know, like who I am, who someone else is. This is not okay. This is like we're tolerating stuff, we're not tolerating stuff. And then at the ear chakra consciousness, it's like physical, like, you know, like it's like a full, it's like where the line in the sand actually lands or something. It's hard to describe. Okay, so too much energy streaming in, can be not sure what you are hearing, or is it someone else's messages or spirit's messages, or like, again, it's like just a confusion of energy. And then too many messages to make sense, or too many shadow parts, you know, to differentiate between. So again, is it like too much external, too much internal? Where's the, again, the boundary line energetically within yourself? Is it a inner child part? Is it a shadow part? Is it a different, you know, part of your psyche? Is it your higher self? Is it an angel? Is it your intuition? Is it my heart? Is it my soul? Like, yeah, too much, yeah? So it's like, how do we rebalance that? How do we take all this energy from the crown? How do we take this from the third eye and actually like balance it in, right? The inflow, the outflow, that comes into, again, boundaries, taking care of yourself, being able to differentiate between that, knowing where your line in the sand is that you need to take care of yourself to keep that center, yeah, to balance the energies, yeah? So with the outflow, yeah, so the outflow, if it's closed, right? So if the outflow is closed, we don't hear ourselves. Yeah, we're like too focused out there. It's almost like a, not a mirror, almost like a projection. It's like we're closed off to ourselves in a way. It's like it's all backed up in here. And so we're just sort of listening out there, but it's too much to hear in here. So it's like we block it down. A little bit like the ear infection, and we're like blocking in what's coming in, but it's like the opposite way. And this can happen when we don't have love for ourselves, when we really despise ourselves. Ouch. Ear chakra consciousness is pink. Pink is connected to the heart. Pink is connected to love. Pink is connected to self-love. Ear chakra is very connected to self-love. If we do not love ourselves, we block ourselves off from ourselves. That becomes very isolating. It's a reflection of how much we've disconnected from ourselves. Ouch. Yeah. We say things we don't remember, right? Especially if it's like an argument or anger or something like that. And then we're like, I didn't say that. I mean, like classic narcissistic line, right? Like, I didn't say that. Gaslight, turn it around, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes they genuinely don't remember saying it because they're not fucking conscious. Yeah? Truth. Ouch. That's right. Muddled to understand ourselves, and can be quite blank at times. So we're just like, I don't know. And again, it's the disconnect. Yeah, it's a disconnect from your soul. It's the shutdown. You've been put in a tomb, locked it away, whether you've done that or somebody else has done that to you. Yeah. When there's too much energy streaming out, yeah, too much energy streaming out, you talk over the top of people. Yeah, you tell everybody what you think they should be hearing. Yeah, it's like my way or the highway. This is the right way, and it's the only way you're going to be able to do it. Yeah. What's up, booby? What's it going on? Stars. Booby, Boonie, Boo. Come on. Stars. I call them all sorts of things. Yeah, it's cold here. It's cold everywhere at the moment, right? Come on. He's like looking at me. It's like, is that you or is it somebody else? He's like half freaking out. So when there's too much energy streaming out, talking over the top of people, my way or the highway, telling everyone what they think you should be hearing. Again, because it's like you know, when we look at the blocked and it's too much, like it can't even get out. But when we are like blocked here, and it's like almost like we're yelling out over the top as well. So it's streaming out, but it's almost like the disconnect between the connection of what's going in and out. Again, boundary lines are blurred. Yeah. So when the balance of the physical, of the ear chakras come in, physical hearing improves. And so born with hearing issues, I would look at past life and where it came into in this life, and then look at like, I want to say born with hearing issues, there's a couple of different threads there, right? Because it can be like in the womb. So if the womb, like if there was arguing going on whilst you were in the womb, or a negative environment whilst you were in the womb, or you were not wanted as a child, like say if you were in an accident and not consciously wanted as a baby, like, you know, to be pregnant, etc., that can influence what we hear. Does that make sense? It's not that you're not wanted, but, you know, like if it's not a planned pregnancy, it can be a shock, and then the mother learns to love what she's in. But if that shock is not dealt with, it's like that energetic sits there, which can affect other things too. But then also looking at, and then it can also go into past lives. What is the like feminine lineage that you're learning in this lifetime? What is it that you're looking at coming into, you know, like, and healing. And then also like what we were experiencing in those past lives, that was like, you know, feminine betrayal, blah, 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 etc., you know? So looking at all of those things as well. And then the other thing that's coming to mind, so so weird because I haven't really felt it before, but it's really strong this morning. So like with the Egyptian tombs, I wasn't wanted, but I seem to have quite the opposite. I hear everything. Yeah. So you can, okay, so let's talk about the Egyptian stuff first. So like if we look at the tombs and being put to sleep, so to speak, and in a past life, like being put to sleep in a sense of, so like, yes, we can be put to sleep in a tomb, but there's some connection with Egypt right now with the ears. It's so interesting. Isis is like the feminine, Osiris is the masculine, so there's a balance there, but I don't know, there's something coming in there. So, okay, and so then the other thing, my mother has always said hurtful things. I feel it was a protection thing. Exactly. So it's the same thing, right? So if you know, heal the mother wound, so to speak. This is Dawn. She's got a pink collar on actually. So she's right in ear chakra week. You're the only one with a collar, aren't you? Hey? So like when to heal ear issues would be looking at healing the mother wound. And then when I say the mother wound, it's not like just physical bloodline mother, can be energetic soul family mother lineage, like feminine lineage on a soul level. So your blood, this lifetime generational lineage is different to your soul generational lineage. So I'd be looking at both of those lineages, healing the mother wound through that, and then also checking in any other feminine females in your bloodline, sisters, aunties, cousins, any of those, like even friends that you might have felt betrayed from, or if there's any quote unquote wounds there or hurt or anything like that, going through like a list. In the third eye chakra consciousness, there's a process that I've created called the relationship life review. And it's literally like going back through all of the relationships and basically doing like a healing, purging, clearing, and activating through each of those relationships. So you could do that with like the feminine lineage as well, in both this current bloodline lifetime and also the soul generational. So it'd be looking at those to heal those. The other thing as well is that and then also inner child amongst that, right? So inner child's almost like the main thing, because it's, you know, if you were 6 when that happened to you, well then it's inner child with that, if that makes sense. So what was the other thing I was just about to say? Forgot. It'll come back to me. It just dropped off. I thought there was something else here. Yep, you hear everything. That's what it was. See, that's what I was checking. Is to turn the dial. I think I spoke about this in the third eye as well. So we turn the dial up to, you know, like when we're looking at our intuitive organs as well, you know, if people see too much or whatever, you can just turn the dial down. Like I always say, I wouldn't recommend turning it off. Just adjusting the volume, or, you know, like however you want to turn the dial up or down. Is it digital or analog? So you have control of how much you hear or turning it down. Yeah. You're the only conscious person in your family. It's usually the case with us. In my family had been obsessed with Egyptian culture. Everything you say resonates. Yeah, there's something about the Egyptian stuff coming through this morning. I'm not quite sure what that is yet. Hasn't quite dropped in yet. Okay, so Archangel Jophiel helps to balance, helps you to adjust to hearing just the beautiful. Now, we don't want to be like, I want to say there's a fine line between tuning what we are listening to and, you know, only hearing the positive of what somebody is saying, in a sense of like, for example, if you're in an abusive relationship, we don't want to be turning a blind eye to the abuse that we're copying and like, oh no, they're just being beautiful today, or like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But Archangel Jophiel is connected to beauty and beautifying things, and she is the one who tunes our frequency and our dial to thinking beautifully, seeing beautifully, seeing the positive, thinking and hearing the positive. And, you know, and I want to say that is a brain training. Yeah, and I've talked about this before in the affirmations and brain training, in like training yourself to think positively, training yourself to be positive, training yourself to find the gratitude, etc., etc. It's definitely a practice though. It's definitely a muscle, and it's definitely a practice to do that sort of thing, but it's essential. Yeah, so Archangel Jophiel helps with that. With the ear chakra consciousness, and it is very much about like your clairaudience. Yeah, and our ear chakras representatively have like a big grid. Yeah, it's like a big, I want to say like a spider web grid, if you may, that goes out in a big cone shape. Now, some people don't resonate with that. That's fine. What is the ear chakras for you then, right? When I really tune into the ear chakras, it does feel like that. And you can, if it is sort of like a cone shape or a web, if you may, you can just check if like any of those bits are ripped or torn, and you can just, you know, seal them back together. These grids actually are like, I want to say, your antenna that goes into other dimensions. So when I talk about traveling, you know, like of course we astral travel, but I feel like it's training ourselves to travel without needing to travel anywhere. As an ancient blooded healer, we literally don't need to travel anywhere. We don't need to take ayahuasca. We don't need to do that shit, because we are just here. Like, we see into other realms, dimensions, we feel it. It's just so normal and natural to us, and it's like, how is that not normal for you? You have to what? Go to ceremony to do that? Like what? I'm like, that's my everyday reality. Right? So these ear chakra grids are like your antenna to another dimension, if you may, right? And so it's like you can travel your ear chakra grids just by quote unquote thinking about it, right? And tuning in to the realms, to other dimensions, to the stars, to the trees, to whatever it is that you need to hear. At the ear chakras, we're also using them as a way to, what's the word? You're hearing behind the words. So your classic clairaudience is hearing what somebody is really saying. You know how they say like, oh, read between the lines? It's like, can you hear behind the words? A classic easy example is like, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm good. When clearly you know they're not, right? You know, as an example. So when somebody's saying something, you can hear what they're really saying. Yeah? And you know it, if you may. Is that why I hear things that others around me can't hear? Yes, exactly, right? Exactly. Exactly that. And I think Starseed was saying, I've always found the beauty in the world. No one else sees or take photos of the beauty of the world. Yes, exactly, right? Yeah, so it's like hearing behind the words. Clairaudience classic of hearing what somebody's really saying. Yeah. What was the other thing about the ears? So is the stillness. Are you comfortable in the stillness? They say we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, so shut the fuck up and listen. What can you hear? I can hear somebody mowing in the, or whippersnippering or whatever it is, blowing in the valley. When you actually quieten and actually ask yourself, what can I really hear? You can actually hear quite a lot. And just like I was sharing in the third eye chakra consciousness, to train yourself to see like as far as you can in the distance. So especially if you've been at a, you know, at a, what is it called? At a computer or a device or something, to come outside and like look as far as you can on the horizon, and like, you know, like train yourself to look as far as you can into like the trees and the leaves of the tree. You might be like, I can't see the leaves of the tree. It's like, look, train yourself to see it. It's a training. It's a training. The stillness is peaceful. The stillness is how we open and receive. And there is a trust in stillness. That stillness is also the feminine. And when you're with your clients and your therapist or a friend even, or a partner, can you be present? Because that's what it is. It's a presence. Yeah? It's a presence. I'm just going to move this into the shade so it doesn't decide to overheat. As soon as I was tuning into the stillness, I'm like, I don't want it to overheat. Can hear your birds and my birds too, exactly, right? Late nights, yes, late nights in the starlight. It's the best, yeah? Sometimes makes me paranoid. I feel I hear too much and see too much, and then feel what everyone does. And this is where your training comes in, yeah? It's safe for me to feel. I can differentiate between myself and other people. And if we don't train ourselves to sit in this stillness, and get comfortable in it and train our brain that we're safe, and that I'm learning to differentiate between myself and somebody else's stuff, that I'm training myself to understand my energy and the tree's energy. It's a big tree light right here. If we don't train ourselves, we're always going to be like, too much. And do you know what the too much is? If I still, that means I have to feel my feelings and I'm full of pain and I don't want to do that. So I've got to keep busy because that just keeps me out of my heart. Yeah? People can't sit still. They've got too many feelings in their heart. The overwhelm is all their feelings bubbling up into consciousness, and the reality that I have to face how much grief I am holding in my fucking heart. 99.999% of the time, that is the reason. It can be very uncomfortable to feel our feelings. So if I just keep busy, it's fine. But if I have to stop, that's too overwhelming. Yeah? That's the truth of it. Are we hearing our heart? I could hear the currawongs in the background on your live. I miss the quiet of living on acreage instead of all the noises in suburbia. Yes, I think we miss both at times. Just checking. Yes. Checking the comments, just making sure I didn't miss anything there. At first it's uncomfortable, but then so much healing. Yes. So peaceful on this live. It's the peace, yeah. I absorb others' negative energy, overwhelming along with mine. Drains me. I have to be alone to regroup. Yes, so important, yeah. And this is the thing where if we don't understand our own energy, we don't understand what somebody else's energy is, we don't, and it's a training. Yeah, it's a training. We're always going to feel other people's stuff, but to the extent that we take it on unconsciously depends on where we're at with our own self. Yeah? And again, it's a training. Yeah? Sometimes when quiet, my mind fills with thought. Yeah. And, like being still isn't about trying to stop thought. Like, we're fucking human. Like, thought is what makes us human. Yeah? It's about becoming the observer to that thought. In yoga, still my meditation practices, personal development, that allows you to differentiate. Again, this is what you're hearing, differentiating between what's out there, what's going on internally, whether it's shadow, inner child, some other part of your psyche, higher self, soul, whatever else is going on, hurt feelings, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's a training to differentiate between all of those different parts. And it can feel overwhelming and confused when we haven't had training in that. Yeah, so the basis of what we do in Trust Intuition is that, because trusting your intuition is knowing what those parts are, because otherwise you don't know if it's an inner child screaming, or whether it's a shadow part, or whether it's your intuition, or is it actually someone said to me? I don't know. Or is it what someone said to me yesterday or when I was 2? Like, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about everything, yeah. The thing is that thought will come in when you're still. But the thing that happens when we practice this is the gap in between gets longer and longer. And the other thing that makes it get longer and longer and longer is bawling our eyes out. If you are full of feelings and you need to cry, it will be harder to be still. It will be harder to sit there and face your emotions. But when you have a massive cry, we feel better, don't we? Yeah? And it's being comfortable in that. Yeah? Yes. Relationship feels like it's next. Yeah. That's the thing. If we don't take action, we'll get kicked out. Yeah. Yes. How do you know that it could be your childhood? Yeah, exactly. Right. Yes, and this is the training. This is what we do in Trust Intuition. You know, like I said, it's the basis of what we learn in Trust Intuition, because how do you know if it's not like this or that pattern playing up from your past? Remember on last week's live stream at the Third Eye, we're like, the past influences today and that will influence the future if we don't change that. If you don't become aware of that, it'll just keep repeating. That's right. That's why cycles repeat, yeah? We get all the truth within our own thought when we are still and just listen to our higher self. Yes, when we listen in general, we begin to differentiate between what our higher self is and what others are. For sure. Okay. What else about the ear chakras do we need to talk about? I think we've covered everything. So I'll just triple check. I thought there was another physical organ. We talked about the different parts. Oh, the nose. Oh, and the lungs. Yeah, because of the heart. So ears, nose. So like the ears and nose connection. The heart chakra and the lungs, and the base chakra and the reproductive organs. So they're the physical organs, is the nose, the lungs, and the reproductive organs, and obviously our physical ears as well. The ears, the heart, and the base, as we talked about, and then just listening to the other realms, listening to what you can hear, practicing being still, practicing, this is a good one, practicing listening to what somebody is really saying. And again, if we're full, it's hard to hear ourselves, let alone other people, right? If we're full and like too much and overwhelmed, we need that time out for the stillness to then come back to our center and balance back down, yeah? Hearing ourselves, hearing all the pieces, yeah? Coming back to the stillness. And again, it's knowing the differentiation and the boundary line between that so that we can feel to heal, yeah? So listening to all the different parts, yeah? So know this week will be generational lineage, listening to other realms, listening to other dimensions. I want to say ideas coming in, but it's more about the structure of reality changing is the idea. Hard to describe. Like the structure of reality changing is the idea that was already planted 2 weeks ago at the crown. So if you think back to what was happening at the crown chakra week for you, and even the week before, at the ear chakras, it's almost like, okay, are you listening to that? Are you listening to that? Because we're coming into the throat next week, which is living a truth. Not just speaking it. You might be speaking it, but are you living it? And that's where people get cut off here, because they're not living in integrity and living in the truth, right? And so when we are looking at the ears, and this week, or hearing the ears, oh, I knew there was something else. The clairaudience is also about hearing songs. So you know when you get a song stuck in your head, that's like Archangel Sandalphon speaking to you. So Archangel Sandalphon is very connected to the ear chakras, and Archangel Sandalphon is like, you get a song stuck in your head, or you'll be in the shop or at a restaurant or wherever you are, and then I saw this like, you know, just white noise going on around you, and then all of a sudden this song is like, everything else goes quiet and you just hear the song on the radio and it's so clear, right? Like, so it'll either be inside your head and it'll stuck in your head, or it'll just be outside, or it'll just be all white noise and you're just going along your day, and then all of a sudden somebody's conversation is just like, that's all you can hear, you know, and then it all goes back to normal. So like those are messages as well. So take note of those. If you know what the song is or the words in the song, or if you know the song but you don't know the words, Google it, check in what the words are saying, because it can be a message for you as well. So keeping your ears out for listening this week. Practice listening to what somebody is really saying. Like you can literally tune in. You could be like, okay, what am I hearing behind what they're saying? And then like really listening to that. Am I listening to myself enough? Am I listening to the ideas that came through at Crown Chakra Week, or the week before Crown, before we started it? What was going on for me? And then am I putting that into action? Like I said, feminine healing, feminine wounding, feminine healing this week, generational lineage stuff. Keep an eye out for an intuitive eye out or intuitive ear out for Egyptian stuff. I don't know what that was coming through, but it's really strong. for some reason, but it might just be the tomb and awakening from the slumber of the magic that we once used. And that is the magic of who you are, coming into the truth of who you are, stepping into the heart as we go down. And then so just listening, and then practicing listening in many different ways, listening to your heart, listening to, you know, the earth, listening to people, and then the sound, like music, sound healing. How did we forget to talk about that? But they're like the obvious things as well, yeah? Tuning forks, yes, exactly, right? And yeah, record player, so same thing, listening to the messages in the words. Yes, I need a hearing aid, but sometimes I can hear so clearly and it's always a message. Yes. Yeah, and so really tuning in, and this is where inner child healing can really help with the ears or any illness really. Yeah. Yeah, and so clair smell is definitely one of the organs as well. So, you know, like if in a mediumship session, or if there's like a deceased loved one around and you smell their perfume, or you know how like your favorite grandma or whatever has a certain smell, like you smell her, like clair smell is an intuitive organ as well. So trust the messages you're associating with like your clair smell as well. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Definitely a thing. Oh, thanks, Laura. Appreciate hearing that. Thank you. All right, guys, if you don't have my crystalline chakra activations, you can grab them and you can listen to them to activate the crystalline structures through the through your chakras, and it connects to the crystalline structures of the earth and the star realms. That's really what they are about there. Yeah, your English, your inner ears are lightly tingling. I was like, that's ears tingling, ingling in one word. Angling, whatever. I'm making up words now. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. I'm just checking these comments. I had something done when I was a young woman, has been popping into my mind. Yeah, and so it makes you sad. So these, like when these memories come back, it's because you're ready to deal with them. When these memories come back, it's because it's coming up for healing. When these memories come back, it's because you are in a place where you've done so much work that can't be suppressed anymore. And so you're ready to deal with it and face it. Crying is like one of the best forms of healing. There is many other ways of healing, of course, but letting the tears out that you didn't get to grieve back when it happened is also so important, as is working with somebody who can hold the space for you to heal from that. And at the ear chakras, like I said, this is connected to the heart and the base. So base chakra stuff is going to be coming up at the ears, yeah? So anything connected to base chakra as well, yeah? Yes. Interesting, right? So Carrie says, I've always had difficulty hearing at times, but I passed the hearing test because we can hear when we want to hear. Can't we? Funny about that, yeah? So on point. Love how you go into so much depth. Yeah. Deep is my middle name. That's normal. It's a normal reality. I love you guys. Have a beautiful hearing week. I'll see you soon.